Good morning. Welcome to White Bear Unitarian Universalist Church. Sorry. We're delighted to have you here, both in this space and those attending virtually. It's good to be together, a community of youth, adults, and children, sharing the values of courage, reverence, and compassion. I'm sorry. I'm Steph Ward, she, her, and a member of the board of directors. If you have a sorrow or a joy that you'd like to share in the meditation, if you could please add that to the bowl or in the chat box online, and just make sure to have consent before putting someone's full name in. For those online, we'll have the cyber social hour, and that starts 5 minutes after the postload. And if you're here in person, the social halls again become a hub of connection and informal conversation. We hope you'll check it out. If you're looking for short, structured time of connection and community, our formalized small group conversations are still happening. Grab your coffee and/or cookies, but I think the cookies are missing because we need bakers. And find your way to the Emerson alcove down the hall toward the room with the view of the woods. So down the way. And then small groups will gather and have a 20-minute focused sharing time. And now we have a message from our Nominating and Leadership Development Committee. They're hosting a program this spring called Leadership as a Spiritual Practice. You can visit their table in the social hall to learn more. So to tell us about that are Molly Ryan and Dana Boyle. I totally messed that up, sorry. Sorry. The Nominating and Leadership Development Committee is hosting a program this spring called Leadership as a Spiritual Practice. And visit the table in the social hall to learn more. And now, Molly Ryan and Dana Boyle have an update from the Lead Minister Search Committee. Okay.
Hello, I'm Molly Ryan and my pronouns are she, her.
I'm Dana Boyle and my pronouns are she, her as well.
We represent the search committee and are here to give you an update on our progress. Thanks to 321 of you who took to the survey and 175 of you who participated in a cottage meeting, we were able to get a good picture of who we are as a congregation and what our hopes for our new lead minister and the future of the church are.
We asked a lot of questions and you gratefully answered them. Our job was to listen to you and integrate your thoughts into a very detailed questionnaire. It was about 54 pages long in the end, that will become a big part of our hiring packet. We found a lot of shared values, which made it easier for us to put this into writing, and we wanted to share them with you. So here are some of our observations.
The 2-year interim process under Reverend Rogers' leadership is serving us well. While we cherished Reverend Victoria and other key staff members who have left, it really seems that we are not collectively in a state of grief anymore. As Reverend Roger has reflected back to us, our congregation is showing a lot of resilience, which is a relief to hear from such an objective observer.
When asked what we value most, the top answer was great sermons and well-designed services that in their entirety are inspiring, deeply felt and personal. Experiences that speak to the head, heart, and spirit that we can put into practice as we head out the door.
We also strongly value a sense of belonging. Our social justice work and the music we have, along with our beautiful church building and its setting in nature.
We are a congregation of theological diversity, all the while tending to the shared values we hold together. And we love our opening words of welcome, as well as our This I Believe talks.
We cherish our multi-generational community and hope to attract more families and young adults in the future.
We aspire to have more diversity in our congregation, and we want to work together toward that goal.
We have a strong financial stewardship and a culture of generosity in our giving.
The church has created a new organizational structure, and we look forward to supporting a new minister's work-life balance.
Lay leadership in particular is particularly strong here, from the board to the committees and other valuable roles, and we seem to have good trust among us.
And our new relational covenant helps us maintain healthy communications and boundaries.
We are looking forward to getting back together in person and feeling a renewed sense of community.
And we're really excited to welcome our new lead minister.
In terms of next steps, this month is when applicants will be looking at all the openings for UU churches across the country. We heard positive comments from our great partners at the UUA, and we think we've positioned our church in a very positive yet realistic light. After all this work, we are really eager to see who applies.
But we won't know until early January, and at that point, we'll start reviewing applications and meeting with top candidates. This is when we have to stay mum until we bring the top candidate here to meet with our whole congregation in April. And that's when we need everyone here, and out there to be present. We need you to get to know that candidate, and then we need you to vote. And thanks again from all of us for your trust and the support that you have shown. We're working really well as a team, and we're really still up for the challenge.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome to our church, where together we grow our souls and serve the world in love. Thank you.
Come into this place which we make holy by our presence. Come in with all your vulnerabilities and strengths, fears and anxieties, loves and hopes, for here you need not hide, nor pretend, nor be anybody other than who you are and who you are called to be. Come into this place where we can touch and be touched, heal and be healed, forgive and be forgiven. Come into this place where the ordinary is sanctified, the human is celebrated, the compassionate is expected. Come into this place. Together, we make it a holy place. I'm Reverend Roger, and my pronouns are he, him.
Good morning. I'm Mina Hawtaw, and my pronouns are she, her. I was an extension educator with Iowa State University and then Penn State University for 36 years. My job was to generate and transfer knowledge to farmers so that they would farm better. One of the things I had to deal with was the wide diversity of farming systems and thus the farmers themselves. Farmers are not generically alike. There are some commonalities, such as Well, they do need to be profitable to stay in farming, but how did they get there? In our own UU community, we are much like this. We are very diverse in our journeys to our current beliefs. Back to farming. Beyond making money, there were wide differences in business practices and philosophies among farmers. I learned that there were different ways to deliver programs to them. For example, commodity type farmers, you know, your corn, soybean guys. Just wanted the facts, ma'am. Just tell me how to make more money and maybe be more sustainable if it means I'll be more profitable in the long run. However, organic farmers or wannabe organic farmers, they really enjoy discussion and sharing. So discussion circles were used instead of PowerPoint presentations. The bottom line is that to get farmers to be motivated and to change, I had to be a good listener so that I could tailor my message to different audiences. I respected each group of farmers and I tried to understand where they were coming from. Over time, I earned their trust. Let us be reminded that we, in our diversity, can be open to each other's stories and can learn from each other's in this community of seekers. We can practice respect for each other's path to becoming an active Unitarian Universalist. May it be so, and blessed be.
I'm Reverend Jack, and my pronouns are he, him. I just want to take a moment to celebrate the fact that we are a community of all ages, and we are so glad that we have children and youth as part of our Sunday morning experience. They bring with them joy and energy and noise, and we welcome all of that into this space. We've created a special area actually over here by these windows called the Soul Work Center for people of all ages to find activities to keep them engaged in the service, whether that's coloring implements or finger labyrinths. I hope you check it out if that interests you. And now please join me in the opening words. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Good morning. My name is Becky Punch, and my pronouns are she and her. We're going to build some bridges with a song this morning. If you can take out your teal book and turn to page 1023. And this is something that we'll first sing in unison, and then we're gonna go into a round. So it's your lucky day. This morning you have harmonians to lead your section. So Lisa, you're gonna lead section 1 over here, and Melissa, the other Lisa, and then since you're kind of a small group over here, you get 2 harmonians for your part. Okay, but we'll sing it in unison first. It sounds like this. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Okay, this time, we'll start with section 1. You sing it twice, and then just keep repeating that last line again. And everybody sing it twice, and in the end, we'll all be singing about friends and singing sweet harmony. Okay, so starting with section 1, here we go. Building bridges between our divisions, building bridges between our divisions, building bridges between our divisions, building bridges between our divisions. beautiful. You should all come to choir rehearsal this week.
Good morning. My name is Amy and my pronouns are she, her. This morning's story is called Many Paths to God, and it's adapted from Mary Ann Moore in her book, Hide and Seek with God. Once upon a time, 4 travelers gathered to meet near a mountain from different lands. The travelers had been told that if they were to climb this mountain, they would find God at the very top. Around the bottom of the mountain, there were many different paths to choose from, and the travelers had been told beforehand which of the paths they each should take. They also had been told that that would be the only path that would lead them to God. And so the travelers met each other at the bottom of the mountain and told one another of their search for God. The first traveler said, "I am trying to find God, and I have been told that of all these paths, the right path to take is this one, the flowery meadow path. I've been told that if I follow it, at the top I will find God, the great mother of all." The second traveler said, "Well, that's interesting. I have been told that the right path to take is the steep cliffside path over there, and that if I follow it, at the top I will find God, the great Father in heaven." The third traveler said, "Strange. I have been told to follow a very different path. I've been told that the right path is the wide river valley path, and that if I follow it, at the top I will find God, the great Spirit in all things." The fourth traveler said, "Yes, this is strange. I have been told to follow an even different path. My path is the deep forest path, and I'm told that if I follow it, at the top I will find God, the great peaceful silence." Well, the travelers were surprised to hear about all of the other paths because they were sure that the path that they had been told to follow was the only right path. They even tried to convince the others to follow their chosen path by saying things like, "I'm sure my way is the right way. Change your minds and come my way. Don't you think it would be best for you to try out this path? And you really ought to see that forest path. It's so lovely this time of year." But none would change. Each was sure that their way was the right way, and so bidding each other goodbye, they began their journeys to the top. As they started out, each sang a song of praise, the song that they were taught to sing. They could hear the other songs in the distance, and they all thought the others sounded joyful, but a little strange. The different scales and rhythms seemed to clash. But the further away they traveled, the less they could hear the joyful songs of others. And as they journeyed on, they each found that sometimes following the path in front of them was easy, and sometimes it was hard. Finally, each traveler neared the top of the mountain, and as they neared one another, they began to hear the other travelers' songs once again, but now they realized just how beautiful the other songs were, even though they were a little different from their own. All at the top of the mountain, they stopped in surprise to see one another once again, each of them eager and curious and full of joy despite their long journeys. The first traveler called out, "Oh, great mother of all, I have found you." The second traveler said, "Oh, great Father in heaven, I have found you." The third traveler said, "Oh, great Spirit in all things, I have found you." And the fourth traveler said, "Oh, great peaceful silence, I have found you." Then all at once the travelers realized that they had all been searching for the same thing, though they each had called it by a different name, and each had taken a very different path. The travelers stayed together for a time, sharing their songs and stories of their journeys. Then one by one, each parted to the top of the mountain and returned down their own mountain path, their hearts filled with the songs and stories of their new traveling companions. We're going to sing together our children and youth and their facilitators on their way to their circles. We're going to rise in body or spirit and sing 1057 in the teal hymnal, Go Lifted Up.
Gathered as we are now here in this room with about 43 people on Zoom, let's pause for a moment of stillness and a practice of a mindfulness meditation. As you feel the room around you slow down and settle into a moment of stillness, feel that same sense of stillness and slowness within you. Settle into a moment of peace and calm. Notice the expansiveness of your lungs as you deeply breathe in peace and breathe out love. Sending that love and that sense of peace to whatever part of yourself needs it right now. Thinking about the neighbors around you, those in your immediate vicinity. Consider the stresses and the challenges swirling inside and around them right now. Knowing that every person around you has come to this exact moment through a journey of 1,000 steps. They have their own complexity and rich interior. They are holding joys and sorrows, great and small. For just a moment as we rest here, breathe in a deep and abiding sense of peace, and breathe out a tender sense of love for those around you. Next, taking a moment to think of a person in your life that challenges you or frustrates you. It might be a person in your family or a coworker, a fellow student or playmate. Think of that person as a beloved person, a person who is special to many other people. Ponder their complexity and cherish their inherent worth and dignity, breathing in a sense of peace and balance, breathing out a sense of love and acceptance. And lastly, think more broadly of a whole community to which you belong. Maybe this church or a school, a city, or a neighborhood. Pausing for a moment, taking time away from time, cherishing the sense of community, the snow, the warmth and friendships. We breathe in a breath of peace and stability, and we breathe out a sense of community and belonging. Today, our community is holding these people in love and light. Emerson Cash and his family as he is celebrating his 6th birthday this week. Ginny Johansson and wife Ingrid Boersma as Ginny recovers from a successful surgery this past Monday. The family of Robert Jensen, Michelle Shaw's uncle. We lost him this week And not only are we experiencing loss, but incredibly complicated family dynamics. We lift up Joyce Leslie, Nance McLeslie's mom. She goes on hospice care at home. And now from this place of stillness, we speak out loud the names of those we hold in our hearts and in our minds. Trusting that together we can hold this all. Blessed be, and amen.
Today's special collection is for Solid Ground, a longtime partner of WBUUC. Solid Ground is a local nonprofit based in White Bear Lake and serves more than 500 children and adults per year in suburban Ramsey and Washington counties. Most participants housed by Solid Ground have experienced long-term homelessness and other trauma, as well as struggle with mental illness, chemical dependency, or chronic health conditions. Solid Ground also supports clients pursuing health education and employment goals. They provide enrichment activities for children to promote social, emotional, and academic growth. So your donation is especially important as many continue to struggle with the economic, health, and personal effects of COVID. All funds donated in today's special collection will go to Solid Ground for their work to support families and prevent homelessness. We'll pass around the donation plates now, and you can donate in 3 other ways. On our WBUUC website, you can send a check or leave a check in the locked box that's outside the front office, or use the text to give option that's found in your order of service or in the chat box if you're online. Whichever way you choose, please indicate the word solid. Thank you for your generosity and your faith in this life that we live together.
Find a comfortable seat for today's reading. It's from Rumi, translated by Coleman Barks. Moses heard a shepherd on the road praying, "God, where are you? I want to help you to fix your shoes and comb your hair. I want to wash your clothes and pick the lice off. I want to bring you milk to kiss your little hands and feet when it's time for you to go to bed. I want to sweep your room and keep it neat. God, my sheep and goats are yours. All I can say remembering you is aye and ah. Moses could stand it no longer. Who are you talking to? The one who made us and made the earth and made the sky. Don't talk about shoes and socks with God. And what's this with your little hands and feet? Such blasphemous familiarity sounds like you're chatting with your uncles. Only something that grows needs milk. Only someone with feet needs shoes, not God. Even if you meant God's human representatives, as when God said, I was sick and you did not visit me. Even then, this tone would be foolish and irreverent. Use appropriate terms. The shepherd repented and tore his clothes and sighed and wandered into the desert. A sudden revelation came then to Moses, God's voice. You have separated me from one of my own. Did you come as a prophet to unite or to sever? I have given each being a separate and unique way of seeing and knowing and saying that knowledge. What seems wrong for you is right for him. What is poisonous to one is honey to someone else. Purity and impurity, sloth and diligence in worship, these mean nothing to me. I'm apart from all that. Ways of worshiping are not to be ranked as better or worse than one another. Hindus do Hindu things. The Dravidian Muslims in India do what they do. It's all praise and it's all right. It's not me that's glorified in acts of worship, it's the worshipers. I don't hear the words they say, I look inside at the humility. That broken, open loneliness is the reality, not the language. Forget phraseology. I want burning, burning. Be friends with your burning. Burn up your thinking and your forms of expression. Moses, those who pay attention to ways of behaving and speaking are one sort. Lovers who burn are another. Then God spoke even deeper mysteries to Moses. After hearing all God said, Moses ran after the shepherd. He followed the bewildered footprints. Moses finally caught up with him. I was wrong. God has revealed to me that there are no rules for worship. Say whatever and however your loving tells you to. Your sweet blasphemy is the truest devotion. Through you, a whole world is freed. Loosen your tongue and don't worry what comes out. It's all the light of the Spirit. After a brief reply, the shepherd grew quiet. When you look in a mirror, you see yourself, not the state of the mirror. The flute player puts breath into the flute. And who makes the music? Not the flute player. Whenever you speak praise and thanksgiving to God, it's always like this dear shepherd's simplicity. When you eventually see through the veils to how things really are, you will keep saying again and again, this is certainly not like we thought it was.
As they sifted through the surveys and the cottage meeting notes, the wonderful lead minister search committee noticed the wide variety of spiritual beliefs present in this church. One of those search committee members, I'm going to call him Clay Eccles, asked me specifically about the diversity of beliefs about God. Clay noted that for some in this church, God is part of a daily belief system, while for others, hearing God said in services elicits a negative visceral response. So Clay asked, how can we be more open to the many, many meanings of this word and honor and welcome all of them? And then Clay said, this would be a good sermon topic. You should do this before you leave. Got it. So some UU congregations have a more uniform spiritual vocabulary. And there's a wide span of these, from on one end, King's Chapel in Boston, which has a theistic Christian theology and language, all the way to the other end, congregations like First Unitarian Society in Minneapolis, which are more humanist and use non-theistic language. Most UU congregations are more pluralist than either of these ends, less uniform. And White Bear UU Church belongs in this category. While I value congregations that have a more uniform perspective, I think they're really important in our movement, I feel personally drawn to congregations like this one that have more variety. My hunch is that the search committee will discover that the applicants, ministers looking into the lead minister position here, will probably value more of that wide variety. This does not mean that prospective ministers for this pulpit, that they don't have a strong set of particular spiritual beliefs of their own. It does not mean that they have embraced a kind of vanilla, one-size-fits-all, least common denominator, bland, shallow theology. More likely, ministers interested in White Bear UU Church will have a well-developed, albeit ever-evolving theology. Their beliefs may be eclectic, like mine. I've tried to capture this by calling myself, if pushed, an agnostic, polytheistic, metaphorical Christian with a special interest in Buddhism and indigenous earth-centered spirituality. Don't box me in, though, that could change. Or the beliefs of interested ministers may be more specific, more one or two spiritual orientations. And both eclectic and more focused, they both will work here. I have no doubt about that. What's almost certain to be true is that the next lead minister here will have different beliefs from Reverend Gail Seavey and Reverend Victoria Safford and Reverend Sarah and Reverend Jack and me and the other ministers who have served this church over the years. None of us have the same set of beliefs, and that's just not going to change. So here's the challenge for all of you. You need to make space for your next lead minister to have beliefs different from Reverend Jack and Reverend Sarah and me and Victoria and Gail. And even more to the point, you need to make space for them to have different beliefs than you have. And to do this, truthfully, you need to make space for people in this church, everyone else, to have different beliefs than you have. So if someone uses God and that term has no meaning for you, or even elicits a kind of negative visceral response, let them use it anyway. If someone uses humanist language, and for you, you prefer more theistic, more language of reverence, let them use their non-theistic language. Don't be like Moses in Rumi's poem, dismissing and ridiculing other people's beliefs in the congregation. That is the path to narrowness. So remember that you are not calling a new minister to parrot your beliefs back to you. You are calling a new minister to share their spiritual insights and wisdoms with you and to help you navigate your own unique path. You are calling a minister to be a spiritual leader of this congregation, and be assured your ministers have never had and will never have any interest in making you believe what they believe and making you use the words and concepts that they use. They don't expect you to believe exactly what they believe. They don't expect you to use the same terminology. So your new lead minister doesn't need to be a theist or an atheist or an agnostic or a Buddhist or a pantheist or any of the other things out there. They don't need to be a specific belief. You just need them to have an authentic spirituality, to be centered on that, and for them to be open to yours. So if a minister or a lay member here ever says God, and that's not meaningful for you or it makes you cringe, remind yourself that the speaker is not forcing you to believe what they believe. They're not forcing you to say God. If it makes sense to translate God in your head to something else, like maybe interdependent web of life or spirit of humanity, go ahead and do that. If it doesn't make sense, then just try to let go for a minute, center yourself so you can hear whatever they're going to say next without staying in reaction to what they just said. The same goes with other spiritual terms. All of us have spiritual words and concepts that we've never used or we've jettisoned. All of us most likely have spiritual concepts and words that elicit a negative response. And all of us have words and concepts that are particularly meaningful and speak to us. And this is all good. It's understandable. So let's make space for all of these spiritual differences. This is part of the magic of a pluralistic congregation. It's what makes pluralism work. So I've been thinking about this month, and I was glad Clay mentioned this last month, because this month at White Bear UU Church, there are all these holiday celebrations. It's a great example of all this. So on December 18th, we're going to celebrate the season of Yule, which has roots in pagan celebrations of the winter solstice and has been expanded by some to include the Christmas and Advent season. The roots of Yule are associated with jolly and festival. So the 18th is going to be a fun, joyous celebration, complete with, yes, the 12 days of Christmas, with a saxophone quintet or quartet. Then we will zero in on the 21st on the pagan celebration of the winter solstice. We'll have an evening service that will end with a bonfire and a ritual. We'll follow that with 3 services on Christmas Eve that will celebrate the story of Jesus' birth. The last service will include a Transylvanian Unitarian Christian communion service. And then on January 1st, we will mark the end of 2022 and the beginning of a new year. What you're not going to have at any of these services is us taking most of the time in the service to justify why we're celebrating that particular holiday. Some UU churches do that. Not here, not this year. We're instead going to lean into the stories, lean into the music, lean into the ideas of each of these particular holidays. In this church, I have no doubt that there's some people who will find the Winter Solstice Festival to be more meaningful. There's some people who will find the 12 Days of Christmas to be more meaningful. And there's others who will find Christmas Eve to be more meaningful. And some people won't find any of those very meaningful. It's all good. It's all fine. It's okay. So it's possible that the new lead minister who will come in the summer will find one of these holidays speaks more to them. I worked with a minister in Appleton who really didn't find Christmas to be meaningful at all, and solstice, but she and her family celebrated Hanukkah. they identified as Jewish Unitarian Universalists, and that holiday and other more important Jewish holidays were what were important to her. Again, it's all good. You just need your ministers to make space for all of the beliefs and journeys present here. So I want to share an image that I really like from a colleague, John Gibb Millspaugh. He writes, "All too often, we pace the geometries of our walled gardens, believing we are traversing the whole of creation." So all too often, we pace the geometries of a walled garden, thinking this is all of creation in here. And then he goes on to write, "With spirits of discovery, let us uncover the mysteries nested in our routines. With the eagerness of children, let us seek out the secrets unfolding on our peripheral vision." So how I interpret this in the context of spiritual journeys is that we each cultivate our garden with our particular spirituality. What's important is to not build walls around it. What's important is not to believe that the way we see things, that our spirituality is true and right and embodies all of creation. And yes, Unitarian Universalists can believe that. In truth, each of our gardens, though beautiful, is limited. We don't need to build walls to shield our garden from the other spiritual metaphors and beliefs and stories here. In fact, it can help us if we, with our peripheral vision, learn from the gardens that are near ours. Together in spiritual community, we can help all of our gardens bloom and flourish. Here's a last metaphor today. Maybe this one will speak to you more than the garden, or maybe not. It's all good. Getting a theme here. So this particular metaphor speaks to me. It's from the late Reverend Forrest Church, UU minister, and he called this the cathedral of the world. So picture a large cathedral with the most exquisite, beautiful stained glass windows imaginable. Imagine that each of these windows represents a particular spiritual viewpoint. So there's a Buddhist window, and an Islamic window, and a Jewish window, and an agnostic window, and an atheist window, on and on. And some people in a UU congregation are drawn to one of these particular windows. They spend time, maybe years, lingering at that one window, learning, feeling, experiencing all the depth of that one window. And other people prefer to look at different windows. They look at one and then they move on to another and then another. Most UU congregations have both kinds of approach. The people who go deeply into one window and the people who like to appreciate and spend time with many windows. Neither of these paths is right or wrong inherently. Neither is good or bad. The only thing here is to not throw rocks at any other window. That's the only ethic, right? And we throw a rock at another window when we don't respect it. And here I want to specifically challenge some, and this may be an ouch for some of you. When I hear a Unitarian Universalist introducing themselves as a recovering Christian, I have the idea that they see Christianity in its entirety as a disease from which one needs to recover. If there's a Christian Unitarian Universalist in this congregation, which they are, when they hear that, it's offensive. I don't mean to dishonor those whose journey has been painful from Christianity. Many folks in UU churches have that journey. But please understand that if you paint with a really big brush, you are offending and throwing rocks at the window that some people here find sacred. No rock throwing here, ever. So your next lead minister, they may delve deeply into one or two of these windows, or they may be like me and like a whole bunch of them, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter either if they don't much value, or they don't linger on the window that you like. Let them be who they are. Allow them to share their spirituality, their path, their questions, their insights authentically, and share yours with them. They're going to want to hear. Share them with each other. This is how all of us, ministers and lay people alike, will keep this spiritual community thriving. So back to the garden metaphor. May each of you tend well to this beautiful patch of interconnected spiritual gardens. May each of you tend it well and not build up walls. Here, all of us can be home. Our closing hymn today is number 1056. Tula Klizio, and Becky's going to introduce it in a moment. I just want to lift up the Zulu translation, which is, "Be still, my heart. Even here I am at home." May our hearts be still, and all of us be at home.
Why don't we all stand up? Turn to 1056, and this is kind of in two parts. Just like we're being invited to have other beliefs, we're also going to be invited to sing in other languages. This morning, Zulu. So I'm going to sing through it once, the first half, then you sing through it twice, and then I'll do the second half. All right, so the first part goes like this. Dula klizio na la pasekaya. All right, you guys twice. Tu la klizio na la pasekaya. Tu la klizio na la pasekaya. The second half goes like this, and it looks like hey, but it's pronounced a. E kaya na la pasekaya. Twice for you guys. Here we go. E kaya na la pasekaya. E kaya na la pasekaya. Okay, the whole thing twice through. So 2 times first half, 2 times second half, 2 times first half, 2 times second half, and then your Zulu is done. Okay, here we go. Tu la klizio na la pasekaya. Tu la klizio na la pasekaya. E kaya na la pasekaya. E kaya na la pasekaya. Tu la klizio na la pasekaya. Tu la klizio na la pasekaya. E kaya na la pasekaya. E na la pasekaya. Wonderful.
You can sit or stand, but please join in the closing words. May peace dwell within our hearts and understanding in our minds. May courage seal our will and the love of truth forever guide us.